my sister leveled a gun at me and said, "Sign the papers, or else." My dad just stood there, silently observing. I didn't sign. I only smiled and said, "Take a look at this." She glanced, and her face drained of color. 5 seconds later, a sharp bang rang out. That's how the day ended. But at the start, it seemed like nothing more than a simple family gathering. We had rented a small house outside the city, a modest, practical place, with beige walls, mismatched chairs, and a table already set when I walked in. It felt vaguely like someone else's holiday rental. And, technically, I guess it was. Mom was bustling in the kitchen, unpacking groceries from paper bags, a loaf of bread, some bananas, sandwich meat, the kind of food that makes it look like you've put effort into a meal without actually cooking anything. "Hi, honey," she called, smiling too brightly, as if everything about this day was completely ordinary. Dad followed behind her, carrying a cooler with the slow, deliberate weight of a man who moves quickly only when necessary. He gave me a nod. Neither cold nor warm, just Dad. Then my sister appeared, sunglasses on, hair perfectly brushed, perfume already filling the room. She kissed the air near my cheek. "Glad you made it," she said. For a while, it all felt normal, like maybe this really was just a family day. Mom laying out too much food, Dad sitting at the head of the table. My sister talking about the traffic she'd hit on the way over. We even went for a short walk before lunch. The path behind the house looped around a small field. Mom pointed out wildflowers, Dad commented on the weather, and my sister scrolled through her phone whenever she thought no one was watching. It was the kind of walk families take when they don't quite know what else to do. I answered their questions politely, my tone light. From an outsider's perspective, we probably looked like any other family enjoying a quiet Saturday together. Back at the house, Mom got busy arranging food on plates, sandwiches cut into triangles, chips poured into a bowl, fruit stacked high in the center. She always went overboard, even with just the three of us. "Eat something," she said, nudging a plate toward me like it was a mission. "I already ate," I replied. She laughed, but I caught the flicker in her eyes. She wanted everything to appear perfect, even if it wasn't. We all sat down, Dad at the head of the table, Mom to his right, my sister next to me. For a while, the only sounds were forks against plates and the clink of glasses. The kind of silence you only notice when no one has said anything real for minutes. Then my sister spoke, casually, as if the thought had just occurred to her. "So, are you planning to do anything fun with the inheritance?" The question hit like a stone in still water. Mom looked down at her plate. Dad took a slow sip of water, and my sister's eyes stayed locked on me. Too sharp, too intense. I shrugged. "I haven't decided yet." Her smile twitched. "At least you've got options, more than the rest of us." Dad cleared his throat. "Family should share," he said softly. "It's the right thing to do." I sipped my coffee, letting the words hang in the air. "We'll see." Mom jumped in quickly, steering the conversation away. She asked about my apartment, my job, but the atmosphere had already shifted. The inheritance hung over the table like a weight heavier than the food, louder than the silence. We nibbled at our meals. My sister tossed small jabs, cloaked as jokes. Dad mostly stayed quiet. Mom kept asking if I wanted more fruit. After a pause long enough to make the room feel tense, my sister pushed her plate aside and smiled. "Come with us," she said. "We want to show you something." Her voice sounded casual, but something inside me tightened. Dad rose. His chair scraped the floor. He avoided my gaze. They led me down the hallway into a spare room. No pictures, no decorations, just a table, 2 chairs, and a neat stack of papers waiting in the center. "This will make everything simpler," my sister said, sliding the documents toward me. Dad lingered by the door, arms crossed, silent. I sat down, picked up the first sheet, the legal text arranged meticulously across the page. I flipped to the second, then the third. My chest tightened. It was a waiver, a document declaring that I surrendered all rights to the inheritance and handed everything over to them. Not a share, not even a split. Everything. I let out a dry laugh. Are you serious? You actually expect me to sign this? My sister didn't flinch. It's what he would have wanted. Really? I asked. Did he leave a note? Dad's voice was sharp. Don't be difficult. It's not difficult, I said. It's absurd. The pen sat there, waiting. My sister nudged it closer. Let's be adults, she said. We can get this done quickly and with dignity. Dignity? I raised an eyebrow. This is daylight robbery with letterhead. Her face reddened. You don't deserve it. Maybe not, I said. But I'm not signing. Her chair screeched as she stood. Sign it. No. The word hung in the air, heavier than it had any right to be. Dad's eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. I met his gaze steadily. I regret showing up. Then, in one smooth motion, my sister reached into her bag and pulled out a gun. The room froze. Even the hum of the lamp seemed to vanish. From the kitchen, Mom's voice drifted down the hall. Tea's almost ready. My sister leveled the barrel at me. Sign the papers, she said. Or else. Dad remained frozen by the door. His silence said more than any words could. I set the pen down gently. No, I said again. The air felt thick, pressing against my skin. Then I smiled, small, deliberate, and pointed past her to the corner of the room. Look at this. Her head whipped around. Dad followed. Their eyes landed on a small black dot in the corner of the wall. My sister's face went pale. What? What is that? A camera? Say hello, I said. You're being recorded. She spun back toward me, panic flooding her expression, then back to the lens. You can't, she stammered, but stopped. The gun trembled in her hands. She lifted it toward the camera, her voice cracking. Turn it off. I can't, I replied. It's working fine. Her eyes flicked between me and the lens. Panicked, she pulled the trigger. The gunshot tore through the room. Mom screamed from the kitchen, dropping a spoon in surprise. The camera didn't budge. Its tiny red light kept blinking. My sister's face froze in shock, confusion written across her features. Dad stared at me, pale and speechless. I stayed still, outwardly calm, though everything inside me was coiled tight. And the camera? It just kept recording, steady and unblinking. To understand why that gun ever came into play, you need a little backstory. I grew up as the middle child, which already explains a lot. I wasn't the golden eldest, and I wasn't the youngest who could do no wrong. I was the one in the middle, the one who got overlooked. So I made noise. That was my role. If being good didn't get me noticed, I'd get noticed by being bad. I was the kid climbing fences, sneaking out at night, jumping off sheds with an umbrella just to see if it would slow my fall. I wasn't suicidal, I just loved the thrill. I loved knowing I was doing something I shouldn't. In a strange way, that was the only time I felt truly alive, because at least then, someone had to look at me. Come home bleeding? Mom would put down her magazine. Mouth off at dinner? Dad had to pay attention. That was the deal I made with the world, bad attention was better than no attention at all. My sister despised me for it. She was older, responsible, the one our parents praised. She thought I was an embarrassment. Maybe I was. But she didn't just ignore me, she made a point to show me how much better she was. Perfect grades. Perfect friends. Perfect smile. And behind closed doors, she'd dig in, why can't you get it together? No wonder they don't trust you. My younger brother was different. We weren't exactly close, but he saw me. He'd sit with me, roll his eyes at our parents, sometimes even cover for my mistakes. He was the only one who made me feel like I wasn't completely alone in that house. By the time I turned 18, I'd had enough. I packed a bag and left, no safety net, no college fund, nothing. Just me and whatever I could scrounge together. It wasn't easy, but struggling on my own felt better than suffocating at home. The one person I truly missed was my grandfather. He was nothing like the rest of them. While my parents cared about appearances, Grandpa didn't care at all. Same worn clothes for years. Scuffed shoes. Birthday gifts from a discount store and a handshake like he'd just shoveled a ditch. Mom used to mutter, "He looks homeless." Dad would sigh, shaking his head like Grandpa embarrassed the family. But I liked him. I liked that he didn't play their games. He didn't try to impress anyone. He didn't even notice when people rolled their eyes. He'd tell me stories about old jobs, places he'd lived, people he knew. Nothing glamorous, but all real. And I craved real. Sometimes we'd go out for coffee, and I'd pay for him, thinking he couldn't afford it. He'd smile at me like he knew something I didn't. Every now and then, he'd say something that stuck, like, even if I were rich, I'd live exactly the same. Because once people know you have money, they stop seeing you. All they see is what they want from you. I always thought he was just joking, Grandpa being his usual quirky self. He lived to 96. When he passed, it wasn't exactly a shock, but it still left a sting. He had been the only person in that family who truly saw me. So when we were called for the will reading, I didn't expect much. None of us did. Grandpa never seemed to have much. My parents went out of obligation. My sister went out of curiosity. My brother went because, well, he had to. We sat in the lawyer's office, stiff in the chairs, the carpet smelling of dust and old coffee. My sister leaned toward my brother and whispered, "What do you think we'll get?" "His old pants?" Dad chuckled. "Maybe his socks with holes," he said. Mom shook her head. "Probably just some useless trinkets he couldn't throw away." I stayed quiet, biting the inside of my cheek. They had spent years mocking him, and even now, after he was gone, the habit hadn't stopped. The lawyer walked in holding a folder. He cleared his throat and began. "Your father, your grandfather, expressed his final wishes in this document." Nobody leaned in. My sister checked her nails. Mom shifted in her seat. Dad sighed. Then the lawyer said my name. "He wishes to leave his estate to his granddaughter." The room froze. My sister blinked, then let out a loud, incredulous laugh. "Her? What? His collection of coffee mugs?" Dad frowned. "What exactly did he leave her?" The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "Everything." Silence. The kind of silence you could hear in the carpet fibers. My sister smirked. "Everything? Really? Maybe a couple $100?" The lawyer glanced down at his papers. "The estate is valued at approximately $8.5 million. The words hung there, absurd, almost cruel in their clarity. Mom gasped. Dad straightened up. My sister shook her head, muttering, "That's impossible." She snapped, "He had nothing. He wore the same shirt for 10 years. He invested," the lawyer said calmly. "For decades, modest sums, steady growth, compounded over time. It grew into a substantial fortune." Dad's face flushed. "This is ridiculous. I'm his son. That money should be mine." Mom nodded rapidly. "Or ours, not just hers." My sister's voice cut sharp. "She doesn't deserve it. She hasn't done anything." I stayed still, hands folded in my lap, heart pounding. For the first time in my life, all eyes were on me. Not invisible. Not ignored. Seen. I gave a small shrug. Guess he disagreed. Their eyes burned into me, my sister's fury, Dad's disbelief, Mom's disappointment. I had wanted attention my whole life. This wasn't what I expected it to feel like. The lawyer continued, outlining terms, details, legal stuff. I barely registered it. All I could hear was the heavy silence, thick with shock and resentment. They had spent years mocking him for appearing poor. And now, the man they ridiculed had left a fortune and left it all to me. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't over. The impact of it still reverberated through the room like an echo with no end. Nobody moved. My sister stared at the corner, waiting for the camera to topple. It didn't. The little red light glowed, steady and smug. Dad's mouth twitched as if he wanted to speak, but the words got lost somewhere. Why didn't it break? My sister whispered, more to herself than anyone else. I didn't answer. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Her grip tightened. Another shot cracked through the room. The lamp flickered. The air jolted. Still, the camera didn't budge. She lowered the gun, breathing hard. What's wrong with this thing? Plenty, I said, but not what you think. That's when the footsteps began. Firm, heavy, deliberate, too precise to feel like family. The door slammed open, and two men stepped inside. Not cops, not relatives. The kind of presence that reshapes a room without asking permission. Put it down, one said, calm but with an edge that left no room for argument. My sister flinched, swinging the gun toward them, her hand trembling so much the barrel wavered. Don't make this worse, the other said. On the table. Now. For a moment, she looked like a child caught between a tantrum and surrender. Then her wrist gave way. The gun hit the table with a clatter. One guard snatched it, sliding it out of reach, and cuffed her hands with swift precision. The other placed a firm hand on my dad's shoulder. He froze. The room finally exhaled after minutes of tension. I glanced at my sister, eyes wide, cornered. Everything's recorded, I said softly. You're not walking away from this. She glared, words ready, but powerless. And here, I'll pause, not for them, but for you. You're probably wondering how I knew. How I stayed steady when my sister aimed a gun at me. How I didn't crumble while my dad turned to stone. The truth? I did shake. Just not where anyone could see. A few days earlier, my younger brother had called me, his voice tight, anxious. He said he overheard something, my parents and sister talking. He didn't give specifics. Didn't want to be pulled in. But he told me enough. Enough to freeze me. Enough to know. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself they'd never go that far. But deep down, I knew my family's capacity for darkness. And I'll admit it, part of me wanted to test them. That's always been me. As a kid, I jumped off sheds with umbrellas just to see if they'd slow me down. Climbed fences because I was told not to. I chased the thrill, the danger. When you've spent your whole life invisible, you seek whatever makes people notice. So yes, I went. To see. And because a tiny part of me hoped I was wrong, that maybe, just maybe, they'd act like decent humans for once. That maybe we'd eat mom's sandwiches, argue over nothing, and call it a day. If they'd shown kindness, maybe I'd have reciprocated. Maybe. But I wasn't about to risk my life on that hope. So I hired professionals. Not police. Private security. Two men who knew their business. They warned me not to go, called it reckless, told me it wasn't worth it. I said I was going anyway, so they supported me. They went in early, cleared the house, set up hidden cameras. While I walked outside with my family, they inspected every corner, and they found the gun. They didn't remove it. They didn't need to. They just ensured it wouldn't fire like my sister expected. When she pulled the trigger, all she got was sound and smoke. Then they waited outside, ready, observing. So no, it wasn't luck. Not a miracle. Not fate. It was calculated. Every second. And now, it was them, not me, trapped. The legal process crawled along, as these things do. Months of hearings, paperwork, lawyers debating words I barely understood. Finally, it ended. The estate was settled. I was the sole heir. Every last trace, every cent, it was mine. Hearing it pronounced in court didn't feel triumphant. It felt surreal, as if the ground beneath me had shifted and I was still trying to find my footing. For so long, I had prepared myself for someone to take it all away. Now, there was no one left who could. My family's consequences ran alongside mine. My sister went first in court, 7 years. The judge didn't hold back. Threatening someone with a firearm left no room for excuses. She tried to cry her way out, but it was too late. Then came my dad. He hadn't pulled the trigger, yet he stood by and let it happen. 2 years. His expression told me he thought silence would protect him. He was wrong. My mom was last. She had stayed in the background, convinced that staying quiet would shield her. It didn't. Probation, community service, and a record that would follow her regardless. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel vindicated watching them led away from the courtroom. I just felt exhausted. That bone-deep kind of tired you only get after carrying burdens you never asked for. Yet beneath that exhaustion, there was something new. Space. For the first time, there was room to imagine a life that truly belonged to me. Not one dictated by them. Not one shaped by being the overlooked child or the scapegoat. A life where I could choose what mattered. When I stepped out of that courthouse, the cameras were still running in my mind, capturing a different kind of scene. No yelling, no papers tossed across tables, no guns pulled from handbags. Just me moving forward with nothing, and no one, to hold me back. 5 years later, my life looks completely different. After the trial ended, after the money was finally mine, I did something my younger self never thought possible. I built my own family. I got married. Now, we have a little girl. From the outside, we look like anyone else, a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, a practical car in the driveway, neighbors who chat about the weather while their kids play in the street. To the world, we're just a regular middle-class family. But the truth is, the money changed everything. Quietly. I used it the way Grandpa would have wanted, wisely, not ostentatiously. I invested carefully, just as he did. I set up a trust fund for my daughter, not to spoil her, but to ensure she'll always be safe when she grows up. For now, she doesn't know how much we have. She doesn't need to. She's busy being a kid, and that's exactly as it should be. I didn't keep it all for myself either. My younger brother, the one who had warned me, got his share too. I paid for his college, cleared his debts, helped him secure his first apartment. He never asked, which is why I trusted him with it. Now he's making his own way, standing on his own. As for me, I do spend it. I've traveled the world, Italy, Japan, even the Maldives. I've stayed in stunning hotels and tasted food that still makes me smile just thinking about it. I buy comfort when I want, freedom when I need. But at home, I keep it simple. I shop at the same grocery store as everyone else. To the outside world, nothing appears unusual, and that's exactly how I like it. Now I understand what Grandpa meant. If people see you as wealthy, they only notice the money. If they see you as ordinary, you get to live freely. I still chase adrenaline from time to time, skydiving, scuba diving, climbing mountains, but safely. I've learned how to satisfy that part of me without risking everything else. At the end of the day, I don't need strangers to see wealth on me. What matters is that my daughter grows up safe, happy, and